Hello. This video was shown in the House Oversight Committee UAP hearing today, and I think people are making a lot more of it than there actually is to see there. It's, I think, a thermal video, and we see an object being tracked, and then we see a missile come in, hit the object. The object kind of breaks up into a few pieces, starts tumbling around, drifts off the bottom of the screen. Then we switch to a wider view and we see the object kind of tumbling, kind of falling away. And it doesn't really seem that amazing to me, but I think a lot of people kind of misunderstand what's going on. And I think part of this is due to the go fast illusion. You might remember the old go fast video from 2017, where there was an object that looked like it was going really fast, but when you did the math with the numbers on screen, you could tell it wasn't actually going very fast at all. And I think this is something very, very similar. Well, let's kind of go through that. First of all, let's go back to where we have this collision here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Now, the collision has been described as it being invulnerable to the missile, or the missile being split by the object. I don't think that's what's happening at all. This is the missile coming in here. It's quite smoothly kind of comes in and like bashes through the object. The object kind of like takes damage and falls to pieces, and then this bit starts tumbling and maybe changing shape, and these bits are kind of like falling along behind it. It seems like a missile worked and it kind of shot the thing out of the air. There's no explosion, but missiles don't always have explosions. There's a type of missile called the Katana Hellfire, or the Hellfire Katana, which looks a bit like this. It's a missile with big blades on the side, and they use it for assassinations when they want to minimize collateral damage. Here's some hopefully bad guy who was taken out by this missile and very little collateral damage, but he, of course, was killed. It doesn't mean, just because there's no explosion, it doesn't mean that it didn't work, and it does indeed appear to have kind of taken out this object. So what's actually going on here? I think what we're seeing is something that isn't actually moving that fast, and I think the reason it looks like it's moving fast is the go fast illusion, which is a parallax illusion. And if you remember back in the original go fast video, which you can kind of see down here, the object looks like it's zipping over the surface of the ocean. But what's actually happening is the object is here in the middle, halfway between the drone, which is up here, and the ocean, which is down here. Because the drone itself with the camera is moving along this path, the object isn't really moving very much. It looks like the object is zipping over the surface of the ocean. And I think we've got the exact same thing going on here, and we can kind of tell that from the numbers. Now, this video doesn't really have very much in the way of information because it's all kind of cut off at the top and the sides, but we do have a few things. Like down here in the corner, we've got these numbers, and we can see them kind of bouncing around a little bit. But I think what we're looking at here, if we go further on, we'll see these numbers go to like 5.44 nautical miles, 3.66 nautical miles for. I think what we're seeing here, this is the slant range, which is the range from the distance from you to the object diagonally, just in a straight line. And then the horizontal range, which is 3.65. So that's the distance kind of along the ground between where you are and where the object is. And those two things you'll notice when we go back to where the collision actually happened, back here, and see what happens to those numbers. Right now, they're at 3.4 and 2.7. And if you go to where the collision actually happened, we can see they're going to go from here, we have 3.1 and 2.4, they're going to go to boom, 6.1 and 4.6. Now what's actually happened there is that this laser designator that is used to guide the missile to the target is also doing a range finding. So it is telling you how far away the target is. Now, the target has been knocked out of the reticle here, so it's not tracking the target anymore. So it switches from tracking the target, or giving you the distance to the target, to giving you the distance to the ocean. And you see it goes from 3.1 to 6.1 and 2.4 to 4.6. So basically, it's doubled, which means that this object is not down by the surface of the ocean, which would be 6 nautical miles away. It's just halfway to the surface of the ocean, which is almost exactly the same as the situation we had with GoFast. We had this this object that was kind of halfway to the surface of the ocean, and this very compelling illusion of parallax from the motion of the drone itself. So the drone that's taking this video is an MQ-9 Reaper drone. They've got a top speed of 300 miles per hour, cruise speed of around 200 miles an hour. So maybe it's going 200, maybe 250, but it's very, very fast. And so if there's something in the middle isn't really moving very much, then it's going to look like it's moving very fast over the surface of the ocean. We've also got a little bit of confirmation of what's going on right up here in the top corner. It's a little hard to see, but there's times when it comes in and you can see there's 24,525 feet altitude, which matches exactly what you get if you use Pythagoras to kind of calculate the altitude from the slant range and the horizontal distance. And you can do that math yourself. It always comes out very consistently. You get the exact same altitude for all the combinations of these numbers down here, which kind of verifies that these numbers are in fact the slant range and the horizontal range, because they all give you the same altitude, which is the altitude that's up here. And of course, the drone will be flying at a constant altitude. Now, why is it? What's actually going on when it collides? Like, what actually is this object? That's something that's kind of, we don't know. We don't know what this is. Before it hits the object, it kind of looks like kind of an oval shaped thing, but we also kind of see it look like it's rotating. And the only things I can kind of think of that would cause that are like three things, basically. One would be if it's something like a balloon. It's just a shape that's kind of drifting through the air slowly, which is what we think go fast is. It could be that this is kind of the thermal signature, like in the gimbal, and it's rotating because of the camera. I don't really think it's that, though. I don't think it's rotating because of the camera. I wouldn't rule it out, but it doesn't really have that indication. It's not really at the right position to do that. Excuse me. And it could be something like the heat signature of a number of engines. If it's some kind of drone, like a quadcopter that has lots of heat, it doesn't really seem like that easy either. I think actually the best explanation, which isn't very satisfying, of course, is that this might just be a balloon. This could be something like possibly just a target balloon. It could be a test of the missile's air-to-air capability, or it could be something like a balloon being used by the Houthis, the Yemen rebels who are fighting with the Americans essentially in Yemen. And it could be that they're using it for something like a decoy or something like that, and so it got shot down. Or maybe it's a spy balloon. It might not be a balloon. We don't know what it is, but that actually works. Now, if you look at what actually happens after the collision, which is kind of interesting, you'll see it kind of gets knocked around, it starts spinning, and then it kind of like it's flopping around like it's a loose piece of cloth or something, or a balloon that has been partially deflated. If it's a large kind of relatively heavy balloon, it might flop around like this. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I do know that the missile didn't do anything particularly amazing when it hit. The missile wasn't destroyed. It just kind of flew through it, perfectly normal. The object itself, it kind of flopped around a bit and acted a bit like a balloon that has been hit by a missile. There's some debris, these three things that are coming after it. Now, people see these three objects and they say, well, how can these possibly be following the object? Well, if the object isn't moving, really what's happened is that it's just kind of exploded in midair. There's a bit of it over here and there's bits of it over here, and they're kind of swirling around in the wake of the missile, which has just shot past at like 1,500 miles per hour. And they're just hanging out in the air, and they very quickly kind of settle down into kind of a steady state. And you'll see them just kind of do the same thing and over here. They very briefly appear in this view here, and they don't move after that. And now I think all we're seeing is the object falling towards the ocean. It's no longer powered. It looks like it's moving because of parallax, which is exactly the same as the Go Fast video. And I don't think we're actually seeing any demonstration of amazing capabilities here, even though we don't know exactly what that is. So there's no need to jump to explanations like aliens or advanced technology when something like a balloon, even though it's an unsatisfactory explanation, would actually fit what we see right here.